Sure, what was it? Something over something. When you have something over something, what is that called? Fraction. Good. SMRT. It's a comparison. Compare two things by division, otherwise known as a fraction. A over B, or A to B, or A dot dot B. Those were all your ratios. Ratios and proportions over. There will be one new part, that geometric mean. We'll talk about that in a little bit. It's a different way of it's a different style of ratio, shall we say. Like you just said, ratio is nothing more than a fraction. It's a comparison of two things by division. That's all. Okay. Fractions, they always are simplified. We do not use mixed numbers. I think we talked about that before. Mixed numbers basically cease to exist for a while. They really have no. There's really not a lot of good usage for mixed numbers as you get into upper level math. There's maybe one or two instances in Algebra 2 that will actually use a mixed number. And once again, also in pre-calc, there's maybe one or two instances, if at all, that you use a mixed number. More often than not, you're always going to use that top-heavy improper fraction as far as what's called an exact answer. And like I said, these calculators, they do the work. There's this button that says fraction bar. Fun. Okay.
Weird.
Huh?
Weird.
One that says N over D.
Yeah, come on, bro.
Really?
It doesn't literally say fraction button. I mean, I could actually get a Sharpie and we can write it down there for you if you'd like. Okay. Now, one of the things that you have to remember when you're dealing with fractions is, what do you always do with fractions? And what does the calculator do for you?
Simplifies it.
You guys all know how to do a simplified fraction in the calculator?
No.
I'll show
How
you.
do you do?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
With like the or AB, is that a colon in between?
Yes, I'll go back to that here in a second.
All right, thanks.
Remember, these calculators, all you have to do is just type in the fraction, 8 over 12, and hit enter, and all of a sudden it goes 2/3.
Hey,
It does it for you. Okay? It'll do it for you. You gotta have that calculator though. Yes?
You know the first one. Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously what happens here is this will be simplified out to be 2/3. And you were saying a lot of times you'll see it written as 2, 2, 3, or sometimes they go 2 like that. All three of those representations mean the exact same thing. We see it a lot written out with the colon in problems. And especially when we start talking about side links and things like that. And we'll show you examples of that here in a little bit. Well, since we're already here, do you know what this is called? Yeah, it's two fractions. When two fractions are set equal to each other, do you know what it's called? No. Greatest common fraction. I think you're just making stuff up now. This is called, oops. When two fractions are equal to each other, set equal to each other, it's called a proportion. Wait, what?
I said proportion. You looked at me and said no.
You did? I didn't hear you say it. No, he said congruent.
No.
Before that,
Oh, I heard you say congruent. You're just not very loud.
Oh, I thought you were telling me no.
No, I'm sorry. You need to be louder. Should make you a megaphone. A proportion is two or more ratios that are equal to each other. And exactly when you said simplifying fraction, when you simplify a fraction, guys, when you simplify a fraction, that is exactly what a proportion is. It just shows that it can be divided out. There's a greatest common factor there. Also, what happens when you have a proportion, if you cross multiply them,
Shucks.
Does 2 times 12 equal 8 times 3?
Yeah.
That's how you know that it's a proportion.
Whoa.
If they multiply out, when you cross multiply it, if it is a true statement, then they are proportional. That's how that works. Okay. Like I said, this is nothing absolutely new to you. You've all done this before. Okay. Fraction equal fraction, you would cross multiply. There's a lot of this today. Oops. If I say triangle ABC and triangle DEF have sides in a 3-to-4 ratio. If I say that 2 triangles have sides that have a certain ratio to them, what we do and what we're going to do a lot of in this whole chapter is set up what are called similarity statements. This whole chapter is built off of cross multiplying and solving by setting up, you know how we did the congruency statements by following the letters? Well, we do the exact same thing here, following the letters. Instead of saying equal, we're going to create fractions that are going to be equal. So which one was written down first, ABC or DEF? ABC. So that means that if I say side lengths, do I need to draw a picture? Can we figure out the 3 side lengths out of the triangle ABC? I have side length AB, a BC, and an AC. Everybody okay with that? That's what it would look like. Since that one came first, I put that in the numerator. What do you think is going to go in the denominator then?
D, E,
Mm-hmm.
E, F, F. Oh, yeah.
And that's how that would work. If they have the ratio like that, we don't know what the side lengths are, but we'll eventually be given information to be able to do stuff with it. But that's what we're going to wind up with. We'll be able to set up this proportionality statement, if you will. Then it just goes from knowing that which one came first, that goes to the numerator, which one was second, goes to the denominator, and you keep it consistent. And you match it up just like you did before, but instead of matching it equal to each other, it's corresponding letters to a fraction. That's it. We don't do a lot of that today, but just to give you guys a heads up of where we're headed to with this. Let's see here. Simplifying. When you simplify fractions, what do you do? You take your calculator out and you press some buttons. For example, 60 fraction bar. Oops. They're all yours. Oh, yours was for-
I got
And then you simplify it out, and what does it do?
It gives you the simplified.
It gives you the simplified fraction.
Oh my goodness.
I
I
know.
like this.
What's that? Boy, that was tough, wasn't it? Uh-oh. Your calculator doesn't do that. Uh-oh. Boo. That's a mixed number. That's ugly. 17 times 1 half. Hey, can I do a fraction with centimeters and millimeters? Sir? Technically you should. The only time I'm going to be a real... Guys, the only time I'm really gonna be adamant about making sure you label is when you're working with areas and volumes. But when we're just writing a fraction out, it's not that big.
How many centimeters?
And that's the thing here. In this case, I cannot do centimeters to millimeters because they're not the same unit. In order to make the fraction, you have to have the same units, guys. Now, I really don't know a whole lot about the metric system. My wife yells at me all the time saying, it's so easy, it's just multiplying by 10, blah, blah, blah. You know, that science teacher that she is. All I know about meters is that they're 3 seconds slower to swim 100 of them when you're swimming. Yes, sir.
Your wife's a teacher?
Yeah.
At Kmart?
Ew, your face? Yes, my wife is a AP Chem teacher, so she teaches chemistry, bio. But this year she took a different position. She's an instructional coach. I've said this a couple times, but she's taught for 12 years, I think. So. She's a teacher. Her parents are teachers. Her sister's a teacher. Her brother-in-law was a teacher. My brother is a teacher. He was also a principal.
And your kids will be teachers. And your
So
kids-
we have a lot of teachers in our
So
family.
your kids are gonna be smart? Like, just like.
Is this?
All I can say this is that we absolutely know that our children always have homework, so they can't fake that they don't have homework.
It's like water roll, but with teachers.
The what?
It's like water roll, but with teachers.
So,
Sure.
did y'all teaching your kids?
What's that?
You guys started teaching or like?
So, let's get back to this here. What you have to be able to do, guys, what you have to be able to do is just convert units. So, in order to compare them, was it 7 centimeters and then 14 millimeters?
Yeah.
Okay. My suggestion, whenever you have two different units of measure, always work to the smaller unit, okay? Because you have less math to deal with. So, what do you have to multiply the centimeters by to turn it into millimeters? 10. So this is the same thing as saying 70 millimeters to 14 millimeters, and then you can simplify your fraction, okay? I believe this works out to be, 5 to 1? Now, whenever your denominator becomes 1, you still got to, this is the one time you have to write it out because it's showing the actual ratio. Does that make sense? Usually we just say 5. All right? All right, does that make sense? Now, I'm not going to hold you responsible for millimeters and centimeters and stuff like that, but I will hold you responsible for inches to feet, feet and yards, feet into miles. Those are the ones that are more common, that everybody should know. We all know how many inches are in a foot, right?
No.
12,
No.
10. I mean, whoa. Yeah.
So there's 12 inches in a foot. How many feet in a yard?
3.
2.
3. There are 3 feet in a yard. And how many feet in a mile? 5,280 feet in a mile.
Depends how fast you run.
Isn't it still that how many feet are in a mile?
No, they changed it.
So if I run a mile in 6.5 minutes, I still went 5,280 feet. Or if I run a mile in 10 minutes, I still go 5,280 feet, don't I?
Yeah, I was thinking of steps.
So, excuse me. So, like I said, those are the ones I'm going to hold you responsible for. I'm not worried about quarts and gallons and things like that. That all gets messy after a while anyway. But it's always, always, always easier to use the smaller of the 2 units because usually what you're doing is just multiplying by something. As opposed to when you move up, you're going to wind up with decimals. You don't want to deal with that. Okay? Let's see what else we got. Oops, wrong one. What about this? The triangle angles measures are in the ratio of 5 to 9 to 16. triangle has angle measures that are a ratio of 5, 9, 16.
Mr. Murphy, were you happy about this stuff?
Sure. Now,
Said something else.
excuse me. Here's what happens. If there's some ratio of the angles, one thing you know for certain about triangle angles is how much they add up to. How much do all three of those add up to equal? 180. That never changes, okay? Triangles will always add, the angles will always add to 180. And how many angles are always in a triangle? 3. So what happens here is that you have this angle measure ratio, that all three of these have to add up to equal 180, which means all three of those angles have to have some common multiplier put to them. When we don't know what something is, we create a variable. If these guys all have the same multiplier, would they all have the same variable? It's nothing more than this. When you have side, or excuse me, angle measure ratios, throw an x next to it and add it to 180. That's how you do it. For angle measures. Sides are different for angle measures. Okay? So now it works out to be a very quick one-step equation. What's 5, 9, and 16? 30. So 30x is 180. What's x? 6. Divide. So if I divide out, excuse me, I get 6. Which means the common value that all three of those angles have is 6. So your angles are, well, 5 times 6,
30.
9 times 6,
Oh, 30. Ooh, I don't know.
and 16 times 6. Don't you know the 9 trick?
Yeah. 54
A
and
hand?
So it's 30,
96.
54, and 96. That's very, very, very difficult.
Sure.
You wanna do 5 times 9? You do 1.
You don't know the hand trick?
4, 5. Then you put this one down. That would be
All right. 9 times 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So here's 54.
I don't think she gets it.
Does I get it?
I don't think she cares.
Wow. You don't care about math?
It breaks my heart. Okay, now what do you do? What do you do now? Welcome to Fun Math.
Well, 1. So like you do 9 times
Now,
9.
the reason why we can cross multiply this is because there's nothing else after the 5/4, or nothing else on the other side.
So 6.
Okay.
Right? These are the ones. 3.
She doesn't get it.
Oh no, I don't wanna just go. I'll learn it in study hall.
2 times 9. 1, 2.
Yeah.
Here's 1 and 8.
So that's 18.
3 times 9. 1, 2, 3. 27. 4 times 9. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's 36.
Oh, you put down the one that it
Yeah.
I didn't know that part. That's why I was
45. 54. 63.
Okay.
72. 81.
Okay, now I get it.
Yes, this is fraction equal fraction. All you do is cross multiply.
That's what I got. Oh my god.
It's crazy. Now, there's a couple of ways you can do this. Obviously, we know this. We can write 4x equals 8 times 5. Obviously, to get x by itself, you'd be dividing by 4. Everybody agree with that?
Yeah.
If you do that, 4 goes into 8 how many times? What's 2 times 5? You can simplify the fraction right off the bat if you want to. Or you can write down and press buttons on the calculator. It's going to work. How do you get 40? 8 times 5.
Oh, wait.
All right, take a minute. I know it's a lot of hard work today, but I have a feeling you can figure it out. I know I ask a lot.
Yeah.
You'll get over it. No.
Do 9 times 3. 1, 2, 3, 27.
Oh, okay, I got you. That's nice.
How do you not know?
I think I've learned it before, I still don't.
You're still learning that trick? Yo.
You're trash.
I don't know.
Yo.
Yeah, like, you're dumb.
Yes, it is.
You're a dumb poo-poo head.
I'm sorry. But there's a 19 years old today. What? Are you serious? That's so crazy. I mean, it's us. This was broken yesterday. Look at this one.
They did it in spot.
Yeah.
I mean, she has to
Probably. I have to take it out. Let me get through some of these things and I'll get you one. Yes, sir. It works. If you see some of the numbers like that, by all means, make sure it works. But sometimes it's not, you might have, it could be a over 12 is 5 over x plus 2. All right, so this is probably one of the easier things we've done in quite some time. So 3x is 60, x is 20. You'll also notice, or start to notice from me, a lot of times whenever we do algebra stuff, I usually just rewrite things as x's. It's just habit. I know that the geometry textbook switches letters a lot, not so much as, or not as much as the old Algebra 2 textbook. It had different letters all the time for variables. It was really kind of annoying. But by all means, you just write x's. So 6x is 210. What is it, 35? And then 63 is 3x, and we get 21. What's wrong? Cross multiply. 5 times 12. 60. Divided by 3. 20.
Oh.
7 times 30. 210.
Yeah, okay.
Divided by 6.
I understand.
Gotcha. All right. This is the new part. It's called geometric mean. What? Geometric mean. Basically, what happens is you get a fraction. Ratios are two fractions that are, proportions are two fractions that are equal to each other. But what happens is you divide by x on one side, and you're dividing into x on the other side. So what happens is whenever you deal with what's called geometric mean, and they'll tell you, find the geometric mean, I'll word it out for you in a second. When you multiply x times x, what do you get? X squared. So this is why we deal with square roots. So for example, if I say I want to find the geometric mean
Radical
between, let's look, we'll do 4 and 3. And that's kind of how it'll be worded. Find the geometric mean between two separate numbers. Well, no matter what, those values of x are always going to be diagonal from one another. Every time. They're always on the diagonal. Whether it's the up one or the down one, it doesn't matter. I always put it like this because the two numbers that I'm working with, well, what's the first number? And what's the last number? So it's the first spot, down, up, last spot. And then you cross multiply.
First spot.
Just think of it as fill in the blanks.
Oh, okay.
That's all it is. X is always on a diagonal, numbers go in the other
So
two.
you square root.
Yes, you'll have to take square roots. Because when you cross multiply this, you get x squared is 12. So what you're looking for is a number that's the same number.
Oh, okay, now I get it. Okay.
Now, in the multi-view calculators, when you take the square root, it gives you an answer in simplified radical form, which is great, because that's what you want. If you take the square root of this, you get x is 2 root 3. If your calculator doesn't spit out 2 root 3, you're going to have to remember how to get 2 root 3, or $15.
Wait, how do you even put that in?
Type in the square root, type square root 12, hit enter.
Oh.
That's it. You guys know what the square root button is on those?
Yeah.
I believe it's second squared, I believe. And then it just spits out the answer. So like I said, if you don't have a calculator that does that, you need to get one. Because there is no such thing as decimals. All right? There's no such thing as decimals.
Because at first I thought you had to do something where you had to put in the x squared too. And I was
No.
like, that's why I got confused.
Okay? This is called, this is an exact answer. Those are exact answers. Yes, sir? If you square that, what's 2 times 2? What's the square root of 3 times the square root of 3? Square root of 9. What's the square root of 9? 3. So what's 3 times 4? What you're doing here, when you take a radical, you can break it into perfect squares. Okay? You can break it into perfect squares. Perfect square of 12 that's hiding in it is a 4. So you get 2 root 3.
Ah. Now I
Or,
get it.
other ways you can do this. Let's say you had to take the square root of 108. Say you don't know what that is, but you can prime factor it. That's 2 and a 54. That's 2 and a 27. That's 9 and a 3, which is 3 and a 3. So 108 would be 2 squared, 3 cubed. Okay. Now, do you guys ever hear, do you guys know that there's actually a number here that you don't see?
Yeah.
It's called an nth root. We actually talked about this in Algebra 2, and this is another way you can simplify. 2 goes into 2 how many times? Once. Is there any left over? So 1 comes out. 2 goes into 3 how many times? Once. So 1 comes out, and 1 stays in. What's 2 times 3? That's 108
Wait,
simplified.
that's so
Can you
weird
show
how
me
you
how
just
to-
got that.
If you don't have a calculator, you can go that way.
I'm glad I have a calculator.
Kevin, that's what you're gonna have to show because you don't have a calculator.
Well, hey guys, the reason why I wanted to show you that real quick is because in Algebra 2, you actually wind up simplifying stuff like this. It's really, really easy though. 5 goes into 8 how many times? Once. So 1 comes out, how many are left inside? 3. 5 goes into 13 how many times? So 2 come out, 3 stay in. 5 goes into 22 how many times? 4 come out, 2 stay in, and it's simplified. It looks like it, but it's pretty easy though.
It looks like
It's the same, you can simplify radicals like with numbers the exact same way by using exponent rules. Then you learn all the exciting tips and tricks of that next year. So much fun.
Yeah.
Trust me. So we did that. All right, so if I want to say find the geometric mean of 45 to 5, remember, every time you do this problem, it's the exact same thing. You're trying to find the value of x. And all you have to do is write the fraction. 45 over something is that same something divided by 5. What's 45 times 5?
A big number.
Big number. Okay, so you get x squared is 225. What's the square root of that? Oh, let me show you a trick. Let me show you a trick. Obviously, you guys agree that you have to take 45 times 5 and take the square root of that, right? Here's what I would do. I would type in 45 times 5, hit enter, and then just do the second square root of your answer. So you don't have to retype it. There's your answer. So you don't have to retype it. That's all. It works. Okay? So 15. And when you look at it, what's 45 divided by 15? 3. And what's 15 divided by 5? 3. That's why it works. Whoa.
See, it's so jolly.
Lemon.
Yeah, that's why I laugh. And that's why it works.
That's not what works.
I don't need to waste our time on that one. But let's do something different.
I think we need a break.
Nah,
We need
we're
a
almost done.
snack break.
I think we learned stuff too fast.
Wait, is there a lunch period now? I'm hungry.
That makes sense.
I've eaten more.
That sucks.
I think we have to
I didn't show it very well. All right. What happens if you have multiple variables and you have to cross multiply stuff out? Okay. That's
Do
okay.
it.
Yeah, pretty much. Guys.
What's 3 times 8?
So what happens here is that you still cross multiply stuff out, but since you've got 2 parts that you have to multiply to, more often than not, that's where you guys will tend to forget, or you skip a step. You forget to send it to both parts. When you use the distributive property, draw your little arrows. Okay, draw those little arrows. It only takes a second. So you get 3 times the quantity x plus 8 is 6x.
But can we do it from like, you have to
That's fine. That's fine, absolutely. 3x and a 24 is 6x. 2 steps to go. Subtract the 3x and then divide by 3. Oh, excuse me. You get 8. Very good.
Yay, I got 18.
There's a lot of this quick 2-step algebra this chapter. Okay. There is a ton of this quick algebra. You're going to be okay. But sometimes we have to do this. Say you have a rectangle. Rectangle has a perimeter of 36. And let's say you have a ratio of the sides from length to width is 8 to 1. How do we figure out the side lengths? Well, hold on. Remember when we did the angle thing a second ago? We have put values of x in it. Kind of had to do the exact same thing here, but we need to remember how to find perimeter of a rectangle. Remember that? That's area. So we have length, width, length, and width.
Wait, we're finding what?
How many lengths are there?
2.
How many widths are there? 2. So remember, perimeter, twice the length plus twice the width. And just like we did with the angles, throw a variable in it, and you substitute in. So 36 will equal 2 times the 8x plus 2 times the 1x. all this stuff is, it is really not a lot going on. It just looks weird, okay? It just looks weird. What's 2 times 8?
16.
And what's 2 times 1? 2. So you get 36 is 16x and 2x.
Wow.
What's x? 2.
How?
Because 16x plus 2x is 18, and 18 divided by 36 is 2.
Well, 18 divided by 36 is
Yeah.
half.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say, but I think you got it.
So now that tells you your value of x is 2. That's that common multiplier. But to get the side lengths, what do? Just multiply it back in. That's all it is. And guess what? It's the same thing every time. Ooh. Ooh. I know, calm down. It doesn't matter. You know. Pace yourself on these. This is a lot of hard work here.
Oh my gosh, she's so tired.
I know. I have faith in you, though.
I know. Yeah, I know.
Try that one. There's your perimeter. Find the length and find what the values of your length and width is with that common ratio.
She's still moving.
I know.
Oh, the reason why we do this geometric mean stuff is that later on, in about halfway through chapter 7, we talk about some similar right triangles.
That was fast. Like we know how to do it.
Yeah, like I said, today and tomorrow, it's really pretty seamless.
Do we have a half day Thursday?
Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure if we had it this
Yeah, we
week,
got
next
the
week.
half days Thursday. I'll be out tomorrow because we have our math team competitions tomorrow, so we'll be gone all day.
Good luck.
Thanks. So yeah, you guys, that's why I'm kind of going through this a
Wait,
little
how
quicker.
many more days till break?
What's a math?
How many more full weeks?
Only one.
You want to be in certain classes
So next week's
because
full
for
week?
sophomore level stuff, the sophomore level tests, you should have already been out of geometry to know them.
So none of us can go math.
Or we get
Well, you
out.
could,
We
you might
have
not
school and
fare as well as other people that have taken
Nice.
some
So we won't
stuff.
give you
we're- Oh,
PT,
so we have school.
like playing time?
Thirty?
Yes. But I think, is it Wise? Is that the other one? I think Wise, it doesn't, I don't remember how that one works. Oh yeah, I mean, for,
Math weeks.
because I think this year the sophomore level tests are, oh, I already have it ready.
Just kidding.
Let's see, sophomore ones this year are areas, circles,
What the heck is this?
stuff you haven't seen yet. There's a little bit of slope stuff. You probably could have done it. So remember when you write this one out, same thing. Twice the length plus twice the width is 50.
Don't say something I don't know what you're talking about.
And your side lengths are 15 and 10. Do I need to ask if you guys know how to count the number line?
No.
Okay, then I'm not going to bother with it.
ask us.
No. Do those.
4250.
You see how fast these things are?
I know I even gave myself a break.
Seriously, this takes more than 12 minutes, you're doing it wrong.
It's less than 25 problems.
Yeah, right. Yeah, seriously. If you guys, if you take, seriously though, if it takes you more than 12 minutes to get those done.
Wait, what date is
Rethink your life.
Chapter 6?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, thanks for reminding me. Remember, guys. Hold on, guys. When you're on the site again. Oops, wrong button. Obviously, go to chapter 6. Go figure, because this is 6. Hey, where do you think I'm going to click?
Click me for the textbook.
Remember, this does open up to the... Oops, let me get this one to work. The way that... Guys, come on. The way that the PDF files work, remember, is that there are more than one chapter to it. The chapter 6 stuff is mixed in with chapter 5. I'm sorry, I'm going to ask that you have to scroll a couple of pages to find chapter 6. I know I'm asking a lot,
You can do Control F.
but you know,
Do Control F. Exactly.
it's just as fast to do this.
No, it's actually a lot faster.
One thing that I've also told students about is that since the book pages are there, sometimes the internet is sketchy. Why not take a screenshot of it? Because then you have your homework problems in front of you.
That was disgusting.
Okay? Stop talking, all of you. Great. Take a screenshot of them. That way, if you don't have internet, you could still have your homework. It's exciting. What's wrong with you?
Nothing, you know what, I'm in a good mood today, so I'm not, don't ruin it.
Good, right?
She said don't.
Wow.
Cause you feel moved.
Implying that you usually do.
Yeah.
Apparently. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry he's trying to educate you and try to get you better.
Kevin?